to play, giving you ideas when you don't know what to do or say. Party Gamecast. It's all fun and games, we'll show you new ideas to play. Party Gamecast. Having fun is easy when you know what games to play. Party Gamecast. We'll show you what to play, giving you ideas so you can party away.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Party Gamecast, featuring the Party Gamecast, a podcast about party games and games to take to parties. I'm your moderator, Bruce. Joining me in the show is Rocki.
It's me.
Bryan.
What's up?
Mike.
Howdy.
And Marty.
Is this what I say?
So, you have timed what you've had to say incredibly well for today's session.
That's it. I'm done.
I understand. For those of you out there, when we make the show, we do it over Zoom right now and we mess around for way too long. I'm sure you can assume that's what happens. And Marty, for 40 minutes, stared in the middle distance, upset that tomfoolery was happening. I'm sure he was like playing a game or doing work or something, but he was off in the middle distance and said nothing. And just as time, as 20, 25, 30 minutes clicks on, he just looks unhappier that he's here. It's late. You can't tell. It's late while we're doing this. And I'm like, we better, in my head, I haven't said it to anybody, we better get this together because I can see Marty doesn't look like he's happy he's still here. And we're about to record, and Marty ruins the opening of the recording, and he's just done. He should have just taken the microphone and just thrown it to the ground.
I don't even need to say anything for a mic drop.
No, you definitely had it. For those of you out there listening, first of all, thank you. At this point, I think we're still unaffiliated. I think we're a boat in the night. Technically, I think we're part of the Inverse Genius podcast family.
Does that mean
they haven't
like...
given us a bumper? Until you have a bumper, you don't have a country. So I'm
Okay.
sure. Well,
No flag, no country.
No bumper, no country. No bumper, no network. I know upon hearing this, because I know Donald Dennis listens. Thank you, Donald. That I'm sure immediately a bumper will come. Or I will be given... here's what I hope. I hope that Donald sends me a strictly worded memo that I need to make my own bumper to remain in the network.
I hope he mails you a little, like, a Matchbox car bumper.
Oh, that would be even better. He'd be like, here's your bumper, you jerk. But right now, we're part of the Inverse Genius podcasting network, but they don't have a bumper at the front of the show, so we're still bumperless. On this episode, the game we're going to talk about is a game called Color Brain. Now, we are still in different places doing this over Zoom, so we're going to talk about how good Color Brain is over Zoom and how we feel like it could be in person. But between now and then, it's time for a thing that we do each and every show. It's time for What the Food!
What the food? Okay, just me?
Yeah.
Just you. Rocki, whatever you said was so
howled.
loud, your microphone decided not to pick it up.
Wow!
Yeah.
Just so you know. Your Zoom microphone, it looked at you straight in the windows to your soul and gave you the cut motion. None of it made it there.
I'm sorry, I was communicating with dolphins. My mistake.
You clearly were.
And we're very far from the sea.
Yeah,
you got to project.
I understand. We had a problem with that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got, but just so you know, Rock, if you're too loud, it just won't pick you up.
Yeah, when Bryan was like, just me, huh? I said, what? Did no one hear that? No.
No, I heard Bruce and me, nobody else.
I heard it faintly, very faintly. I think I might have heard it from Bruce's microphone.
Yeah.
I thought you were just mimicking like an excited face.
Mm-mm.
For our podcast listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our podcast listener.
So, podcast listener, you might wonder,
If they're
why
still
are they
here.
so excited? What could make them so excited? If you listened to last episode, first, thank you. Secondly, we covered a soda. We covered Coca-Cola, a space.
Space.
And we have decided once again to cover a beverage. Rocki, I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us, what are we talking about? And if you have any background, please give it to us.
Oh, yeah. So, we are having Mountain Dew Flamin Hot.
Ow, ow, ow!
You have to say it that way. That's what the font demands.
It definitely does.
Yes.
It does, yeah.
So I was looking up some information on this. And it took me to the official Mountain Dew website.
As it should.
Yeah. And I said, I should get a really good backstory or description. Mountain Dew Flamin' Hot. Spicy, neat, sweet. Dew flavor with bursts of heat and lime flavoring. End of page. That's
So
no.
What
No.
more do you need to know?
My story
Yeah.
is not complete, gentlemen.
oh, thank goodness.
Oh, good. There's more to this.
So apparently on 4:30 in Hell, Michigan, Mountain Dew will see you in hell with Flamin' Hot. They're having from 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. in Hell, Michigan. They're having an event with that. Let me see if I can read this. Come for a Mountain Dew and Frito-Lay Flamin' Hot menu curated by Action Bronson and an epic performance by DJ Pauly D. Stay for the Mountain Dew Flamin' Hot themed swag, bar, grill, and mini golf. Raffles, local artists, and other experiences are sure to turn up the heat. I like the vague and other experiences.
Did you have your tickets yet, Bruce?
Let's head to hell.
Oh,
DJ Pauly D.
There's a
Yeah, I
highway.
don't know how I
Sure,
feel about
y'all.
DJ Pauly D, but the Action Bronson menu, I think I'm in
Yeah.
for.
DJ Pauly D is actually a pretty good DJ
Really?
for some reason. Yeah, like he actually is.
Oh,
I have no comment on his previous work.
of course. I
But
only know
his-
him from his previous job as walking six-pack, I believe, is what he used to be, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't the Situation, but he was like the other dude on Jersey Shore.
Yes, he was the other dude on
Yeah.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
I've never seen a second of that TV show, but I've listened to his music. He's pretty good. If you
Okay.
like EDM.
And then, with some luck, Action Bronson will roll up from the part where he decides what people eat and comes
You
over
guys.
to rap a little bit.
Guys.
Yes, Rocki.
So it is limited to the first 2,000 attendees, okay? So you got to get there. But in order to get there, if you could just park at the Picnic Community High School, that'd be great. Because you can't walk there. You have to take the shuttle to hell.
Because this is very useful information to the people listening after all this has happened.
So here's the thing. Having
No
been a frequent
chance.
attendee at Gobbler's Knob, I know that's exactly how that works. You're like, oh yeah, this is the second biggest event in the entire country all year. The number one biggest street event is Mardi Gras, and number two is Groundhog Day, or it was at some point. And for that, they're like, oh yeah, can you park at the elementary school and we'll send a shuttle for you? And you're like, oh yeah, sure. That's how I would like to spend the first 2 hours in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry. Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania had the number 2. It wasn't like Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Rose Bowl Parade kind of thing.
I think
watch
because
those
those
on
have a
TVs.
limited area that you can actually put people in to watch, it
Huh.
becomes one of those
And
things.
Punxsutawney doesn't?
No.
What else is in Punxsutawney?
They'll keep stacking
That
people,
gets
and it's
in the
just like a
way.
field, Mike.
Oh my.
You guys, if we leave now, we'll
Uh-oh.
be there in 8.5 hours.
Is that? I
It's-
thought it would take
Right.
longer to drive than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You
They
moved
do
that
put a
out, didn't you?
highway into the
Apparently-
hell.
Apparently, hell
Yeah.
is just west of Detroit.
That's
Okay.
about where I figured it
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
fact, yeah,
it's about right.
Don't worry,
Hi,
Detroit. Those are the
Detroit
jokes we
listeners.
have to make because we're in Baltimore.
yeah. High
You have to-
fellow Rust Belt.
Gotta pass through scenic Pittsburgh and Toledo, Ohio.
Black
All
and
Rust-
yellow.
This is the Rust Belt tour.
Yeah.
Right around Ann Arbor.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Don't go through Ann Arbor. It's
No,
going to
we
be a
don't have
problem.
time
Too many
for all
college
that.
kids right now. Don't go through Ann
You're
Arbor.
gonna miss Ypsilanti though.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't want to miss you.
on the way back, we can hit it.
Oh, if
Yeah,
only.
yeah. Mhm.
So what we have here is the amalgamation of Mountain Dew and what is it? Flamin' Hot Cheetos? Is that what the other half of the branding is on this?
Yeah, because everything's owned by Frito-Lay. So
Okay.
But this
Yeah,
one
apparently-
isn't. Yeah, it's probably the same. It doesn't say it on the
Yeah.
bottle though.
So first, I would like to note
Yeah.
I've opened mine up, and it is I'm getting an orange color that is clearly trying to pull in a little bit of the Cheeto.
I have tried to
Yeah.
stall this as much as possible.
I get it.
I
I
know
think it
that-
was
I get
very
it. Bruce in the
successful.
editing bay loves that.
Ooh,
That's very
That's a-
citrusy. Smells
yeah.
like-
Yeah, it
Excellent.
smells
Sounds
very
like a-
much of Mountain Dew.
spicy lime.
A little more citrusy than a typical Mountain Dew
Mhm.
for the
Yeah.
smell.
Yeah, it smells like lime rind.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit of
I
lime.
guess eventually I have to try it. Hang
Yeah,
on.
we are
That
getting
is
this
the
episode.
thing.
We tried to get sodas out to everybody. We did not get one out to Mike, so he only gets to. Oh, there's a little bit of spice getting me.
Now Mike has his own beverage.
Yeah, Mike
Oh,
is burning the
that is a
back of
little
his throat
spicy.
in different ways.
Yeah.
It burns on the way going down, Mike. Oh, yeah, no, that takes a minute. And then, well, 3 seconds.
What?
Yeah, you eventually get. It's a pleasant orangey limey soda, and then
Yeah.
And then
long.
it's unpleasant.
Yeah, really, I dig it.
I haven't made up my mind.
It's weird
It is weird.
It is that.
because it's
yeah.
like sweet citrus, spicy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the burn after a cinnamon candy, but you don't really have the cinnamon flavor, but it has that same kind of burn, not the like pepper burn that you get from like hot chips and stuff.
No, it's just I don't even know.
It's
'cause
almost kind of-
definitely
It's like eating spicy salsa after you drink immediately after drinking a margarita.
yeah.
yeah.
There's
That is
also just
oddly
that kind of.
specific and not wrong.
There's a chemical, like it's a chemical burn.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
is
you
what I
don't,
do.
it doesn't taste spicy, it just burns.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
exactly it. There is no spicy at all, but definitely it burns.
yeah, like everything is affected except my tongue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which
yes,
is-
everything from your behind your tongue down your throat.
Yeah,
kind
like
of
I'm
burns,
very
but your tongue
concerned
is
right
fine.
now.
The,
Also,
Yeah, what-
talking is a weird sensation.
the orange
Yeah.
lime taste that's at the front, I actually dig.
Yeah, no, I like the orange lime. It's good.
The
It's-
chemical burn
It's
makes
okay,
me
but
nervous.
yeah, it's definitely not worth that tasteless burn.
No,
Yeah, I
it's so
cannot figure
strange.
that out. Because if it was capsaicin or something, it would burn everything it touched.
Yeah,
But
it
it's
just
just the
burns the
back-
back of my throat.
That's
But
really
that's why I say it feels like a cinnamon candy almost, because usually you
Yeah.
get that when you're swallowing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
my
This is odd.
my
I don't.
word, this is strange.
I can't form an opinion because it's so like.
you
different
guys.
and-
It says natural flavor on it.
It's also covered in flames, such as that I cannot believe that this is not a Flavor Town crossover. That we're not getting a
Right?
little Guy Fieri in here, because it looks like straight up like a Guy Fieri top is what it looks like.
Oh, it's not fiery. It's Fieri. That's the flavor. It's Guy Fieri.
It's
flavor.
Guy Fieri. That's yeah.
Oh,
There
Oh
you
dear.
go.
Yeah. No, it is. It is also for those of you not drinking it from a can. It is the color that normally only toads are when they want you to not eat them. Or frog. Hey, I'm covered in poison. That's why I'm this color. That doesn't exist anywhere else in nature.
It burns the back of your throat and is the color of poison dart frog, everybody.
Most
Manja.
Mountain Dews are, though, to be fair.
America.
I cannot make up my mind. What is happening? This
don't-
is such a weird sensation. I can't nail it down.
Ryan
Do
is
not
too
like it.
puzzled to stop. Apparently,
I get it. So here's what we got to do
mean-
it. We do it every time. We've built a brand on it. Would you take it to a party, Marty?
No, it's odd, but not in an interesting way. It's just odd for the sake of being odd. And it's not good, but it's not bad enough to be interesting. It's just weird, but kind of in a lame, kind of weird way.
Okay.
I love how you're describing it, how a lot of people would have described that big band run in the late 90s. Where it's weird, but it's not bad. And it's certainly not bad enough to go, but it's not good. But that's exactly, you are exactly where someone would describe the squirrel nut zippers that was not a fan of the squirrel nut zippers.
Congratulations, Bruce. I now have Zoot Suit Riot in my head, and I don't think I've heard that.
Hey,
for like
throw back a bottle of
25
beer, Rock.
years. Yeah,
So, Rock,
it's better than
It is our
this.
stuff.
Rocky, you taking this to a party?
Yes, just to see everyone's confused face, like we're giving each other right now. Mine hasn't gone away yet.
Yeah.
none
get
of you
you.
have. Like you all have.
Wow.
And
It's-
watching this from the sidelines has been great. It's
I
just the look of
Yeah, when
puzzlement on
when
everyone's
was the last
face.
time?
It doesn't-
Yeah,
It's like it's negative flavored because I don't have a flavor in my mouth right now. But there's something
it's a,
there.
it's a sensation. It's not a
Yeah,
flavor.
there's no flavor, and
It's like menthol.
usually Mountain
But
Dew you
not.
can taste for a while.
It's
Yeah,
they don't make music. I don't think of music, but there were definitely notes. I can't say there weren't. It took up space and time. There were noises and also silences.
Yeah,
We're dancing, but I don't know
cannot-
why.
it's an anti-flavor. Like it wipes it. I don't know. I'm so confused. I would take it to the party though to bring it back to the thing.
Yeah,
Not that anyone asked me. Bruce.
I was about to. Though. I think I agree with you. This is such a This is one of the strangest beverages.
Yeah, just for the
especially
like what Mike's
non-alcoholic.
getting, and yeah, I don't think they make this in the hard version, but vodka exists.
No, because
so-
no one wants the thing that we're holding that we're drinking. No
You know
one
what-
wants it, but everybody should probably have a
Actually-
couple sips of it so we can
You know
talk
what
about
this-
it as a nation.
Vodka?
It might bring us together.
Yeah, this needs that alcohol burn on top of all this other nonsense.
I actually
But
just
only
had that
vodka.
thought.
So it has no flavor.
Rocky, you are close to the kitchen.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Very good. So, Rocky,
I don't
as we go through the episode,
have
Rocky
any
will tell
vodka.
us what happened with that. I'm going to add everybody, and and once again, even though I feel the other way, I totally get where Marty's coming from. There are two ways to see it, which is either it's so strange that people need to taste it, or it's not strange enough for them to taste. And either way, it's not good. If you're gonna have somebody drink this, it's not because you think it's a good beverage or you're making their life better. You simply want them to have experienced this thing. I think if we all had to drink a little bit of this, once again, I think it could bring everyone together so that we could all just go, what is this? Why is this?
If Mountain Dew is paying you, you have to share it with all of us.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
If only
Shit
we
with
could
that
get that
pickle
sweet.
money.
This is now the second. This is the second sponsor we don't have. We are not sponsored by Grillo's. We are not sponsored by
we're
Mountain
not.
Dew.
Yeah, how do you explain that shed full of pickles at your house, Bruce?
Oh, if only I had a shed full of pickles. But we are sponsored by the Warehouse Supply Warehouse. Do you need a warehouse? We have a warehouse with a warehouse for you at Warehouse Supply Warehouse. That's our sponsor for the episode. I'm glad I was able to get that in. It is not
Mhm.
Grillo's Pickles or Mountain Dew Frito-Lay, much as
So,
I've
Mike,
tried.
Would you
Pepsi.
take this to a party just given the reactions of everybody?
Oh, I'd bring it to a party just to watch you people. Like,
Yeah,
it's fantastic to watch. I don't know how it is to drink, but it's great to watch.
Yeah, I think if
it's
you're
great
out there
to drink. You should do it.
Yeah, if you can get a 12-pack of this, you should, for something over the summer, to just say, oh, you gotta taste it. Taste it. Oh, you like citrus? Give it a try. You'll get citrus for just long enough to forget you had the taste of citrus in your mouth. So
Mhm.
Rocky is back. Rocky, what have
I
you
am.
done to the Flamin' Hot Dew?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Nothing, because I couldn't find our plain vodka, and I thought using the pancake one was probably it would cause a hole in the space-time continuum with two abominations in one beverage.
All right.
Yeah,
At the
you would
risk of
break your
here,
taste
I will
buds,
get
babe.
my vodka and tell you how this is.
Marty's getting his vodka. I took another sip because it's the thing here and we're talking. So I'm just kind of drinking something near me. And some of the bubbles got up in my nose.
Oh no.
And that is not fun. It's never fun to have soda bubbles in your nose, but these are especially bad.
Because they're probably burny, but
They're like
Not?
they're like a little Bernie, and they came with no additional flavor to like get into my nostrils.
Bernie.
So
what's
it's
the
sort of-
flavor in your nostrils?
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually
Are
get
you
like
sad that you don't have the
I,
flavor
d-
in your
I don't
nostrils?
know. It's just such a weird
sounds like-
feeling.
It is. I can't. It's not a flavor,
No,
but it is.
but it is. But it's
Like,
not.
There's no
there's
liquid
flavor when you're
flavor.
drinking it.
Marty is,
Oh.
and right now, just so you know, if you're listening, you're wondering, like, why are they chatting for so long about this? They've clearly told us
Yeah.
what they think. This one's dead. They should move on. We're waiting for Marty to
Yeah.
dump a little bit of vodka in to see what it does, if anything. But I'm going to take this time once again to remind you about our sponsor, the Warehouse Supply Warehouse.
Oh my, yeah. Marty clearly going for the top shelf vodka.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, what does he have there? Oh, Belvedere?
No.
No.
Kirkland, I believe.
Which is the same as grapefruit.
Nice.
Sure.
Then
exactly
you've
the same.
wasted it here as we figure out how this vodka soda is. Oh,
Oh,
Marty.
that's just so much worse.
Oh, my
Rocky wins.
goodness. So,
It really is just a more different burn, and that's all.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So you heard it here, folks. Mountain Dew Flamin' Hot. Maybe you want to get people to try it. You do not want to do the mix with alcohol that you would think you would want to do. Don't do that to the Dew. No,
Not to the Dew.
not to the Dew.
Not to yourself.
Mm.
No. We're going to move on to talking about today's game of the episode, Color Brain, from the fine folks at
Wait,
Big
Bruce, are we going to talk about party games on the Party Game Podcast?
Yeah, we have to do it every once in a while, Marty. It's the only way we're able to keep our license.
We have a
If
license.
if we don't talk about enough board game, they take our board game podcast license away. The only thing you're allowed to talk about other than board games and keep your board game podcast license is microbrew beers. If you're not talking about one of those two things, you can't keep it. So we've
can do
already
that.
covered our soda, so we're jumping into our games. Once again, Color Brain from the fine folks at Big Potato Games. I'm showing it to the camera, even though you can't see it. It's a great box. It's
It
covered
is.
in shiny
It's
stuff.
shiny.
Shiny and colorful.
So for this one, does anybody else want to explain this, or you want me to just take this one?
Knock it out.
Enjoy.
Very good. So in this game, there are up to 4 teams. We cheated. We played with 5.
But they also weren't teams, so we weren't really cheating.
They also
in that
weren't
way.
teams. We were individuals. And each person gets 11 cards with 11 different colors on them. Blue, brown, red, yellow, orange, white, green, black, purple, gray, and pink. And you're asked questions. You're told, hey, this is the number of colors in a thing. This is the thing you need to give me the colors for. Look through your cards and figure out exactly which colors are needed for the thing that we're asking about. You then pull the colors out of your stack of cards. You show them. If you're right, you get a point for each person or team that was not right. We played with 5 people, which probably broke the scoring system just a little bit. I don't think there's anything functionally wrong with the scoring system, but we scored points a little bit faster. You play the game to 10 points. First person to 10 wins. There you go. Once again, 1 point for each person that didn't get it. If everybody misses, you just move on to the next question. If everybody gets it, there's a bonus point for the next round. That's the only other scoring nuance you need to worry about. And the final card you have is called the Capture 8 card steal. The card capture. If you are behind, you can play your card capture one time, and it is essentially a blue shell. It then makes the leader shuffle their cards, lose 8 of their cards, and take the next question with the other 3 remaining in their hand. That inevitably means they cannot possibly get it right unless they were silly lucky. Some questions ask for as many as 5 colors, so it's possible you just don't have enough. Or in the game we played, as we did to Rocki several times, just one of the 2 answers you need is taken away each and every time. One more time you play to 10, that's the game. So what we're going to do is, this is, at its core, it's a trivia game. So I'm going to give you a question, everybody out there. You heard all of our colors. Just randomly, first thing. 1 color. The question is U.S. private citizen passport. 1 color. So you're looking through your stack of 11 colors. U.S. private citizen passport. You figure out what color it is. Everybody shows it. Okay, I see Mike has guessed. He's sending it in the chat. Mike has guessed mauve, which I always want to say is mauve. Everybody would show their card at the same time.
Even though there's no R in it.
No, I added it there. It's how my eye sees it. It turns the V into mauve. And then you reveal the answer. So everybody who picked blue for this would be absolutely correct. I'm going to show the card to everybody here because you know that's what's right. If you picked blue, you would score a point for every team that didn't get blue. So, for instance, Mike said mauve, which is not one of the available cards, but Mike in our little thing here picked it. So each of us would score a point for Mike and then anybody else who got it wrong. That's how it goes. The questions. Now, what's really neat is the little box the questions are in, the Color Brain box, is designed so that everybody can play. There's a cutout at the top that shows you the number of cards that you're going to need to play the game. And then there's a plastic window that shows you the question. So there's nobody that has to be left out of the game because they are reading the questions. There you go. To play it on Zoom, essentially you all just write down what all the color cards would be. You remember that each of you gets 1 blue shell to take 8 cards away from somebody. And that's it. You just type them into chat. Everybody reveals their chat at the same time, and the person with the game will reveal the correct answer. Wash, rinse, and repeat. That is the game.
We just had everyone type in the chat and then wait to hit enter until when everyone's ready.
And there is one timing thing if you're playing with a group of jerks. Is one person, as soon as they have the answer, can yell Color Brain, and then you start a clock for 15 seconds. We didn't really feel the need for that. If you are with a group, there is a rule to cover that. So if you're thinking like, Bruce, it all sounds good, but how do you take somebody from waiting forever to answer? There is a mechanism in place for that. We just didn't necessarily feel the need to mess with it, but it is there.
I suspect it's more important if you've got a group. If you're actually playing in teams and the groups can't agree, then they're just debating among themselves. So with us each of us being effectively our own group, we didn't really disagree with ourselves very often.
There wasn't a lot of internal disagreement on my team.
No.
Exactly. And I think there's one thing going each direction on the time, which is we played on Zoom, so that would normally make that stuff harder. I think a 15-second clock is very good for people live and in person, and you have a hand of cards, because you're just plucking cards out and dealing with it. So even if you're fighting, you're just plucking cards at each other and just showing the cards. So it's going to make it a lot better than if you're trying to like debate people on Zoom to decide what your answers are. So I would say if you're playing it on Zoom, which is how we're going to talk about it, although I'm sure we're going to talk about kind of both ways that you can play it, although we have only played it on Zoom, that, yeah, I think the 15-second clock is fine. I think you should give a little more time if you're on Zoom. So I'm going to start with you, Bryan, because I know you do trivia because I've been a trivia host for you. So I know it's a thing that you like. So I'm how do you feel about...
I liked it. It's not... Like, it's a pretty simple concept. Like, it sounds a little weird, but literally you play one round and boom, you got it. Because that's kind of what we did. We were like, what is this? And then we played it and it made sense. No, it's fun. It's easy. I would imagine on a team, there's some of them are just simple and everyone knows, but then there's some of those just like on a trivia team where you're like, I think I'm right, but you got two people who are pretty sure they're right and they disagree. But yeah, it's all simple stuff like colors of brand logos or whatever, stuff like that. So it fits in the trivia genre. I'd say it's obviously a little more simple than regular trivia, also just because it's a narrow category. But yeah, I'd say it's comparable if you like trivia style games. But it's because you have a preset set of answers, it's not like trivia where you have to just pull an answer out of the thin air. It's that there's 3 colors, there's only 11 to pick from. That'll help you narrow it down. If you're thinking, what if it's like chartreuse? That's not a choice. I thought it was polka dot.
Go with green and suck it up.
Hey, trivia nerd, it can't be that.
But yeah, no, I think, yeah, I liked it. It scratches that trivia itch a little bit. It worked pretty well over Zoom. I bet it would be also fun with like teams over Zoom, although it might be harder to have breakout conversations. I guess you might have to.
Yeah, if you could get breakout rooms or something.
Yeah, or type directly to the people. And I don't think it'll work as well with teams over Zoom. I think it works really well with individuals over Zoom, and I think teams would work in person, but I don't see them working on Zoom very well.
I kind of agree with all of that.
If you wanted to do it in Zoom and Teams, you'd probably just use some other chat application for your team, like Messenger or something where you can have a chat with multiple people, or Discord or whatever. If you wanted to pair it with that, like at the point that you're already using Zoom, you probably have some other chat program, but it's a little extra step. But I would totally play this in person.
But unless you're also a good typer, you're not going to convey as much information as quickly.
Yeah, and there's some drawbacks, but we're living in an age of doing stuff on Zoom that's not meant to be done on Zoom. So we're used to that.
And as a person that professionally does a lot of stuff on Zoom, you're not supposed to do on Zoom. It's definitely doable, but I agree with Marty. I think this game shines more as an individual game, and I think maybe if you could probably play this, it might be scalable to just as many people as you can get on Zoom, as long as you have some way to keep score. I think that becomes the only problem, and I think you'd have to, if you're working with numbers larger than, even at 5, we could start to see where if one person could get it right, they'd zoom ahead so far. But I think you could even do this where it was questions were worth like 1 to 3 points and could jump you ahead. And I think there's probably ways to work on that.
Yeah, the game's limited to 4, but we played with 5, and I don't think we had any issues with it. But like Chris was saying, you could have the score is determined by the number of people who get it wrong. So if you have too many people get it wrong, you could have one person win very quickly. But then you can either just go to a higher number or max out the number of points you can get per question.
Yeah, I think both of those could be effective. Yeah, maxing out to up to 3 points a question, I think would instantly take care of your problem.
Or bump it up to 15 if you've got 9 people or something. Yeah, house rule it. You could figure it out.
Yeah, and I don't think it would take... I think if you're the kind of person looking for games to play on Zoom, I don't think it would take more than 1 or 2 sessions with your group to figure out where your house rules need to sit. So I'm going to jump over to you, Rock. How'd you feel about this one?
I'm just honestly...
Okay.
Like, it's cute. The cards are very cute. And I think we were all in person using the cards. Like in Teams, that's definitely how you would communicate. You just point. So you don't have to talk. Like, that's clearly why they're here. But I don't know. It's just a trivia game that was very simple. I don't know. I wanted to like it more. I really did.
So then How do you think it would play live? Like, once again, understand out there, folks, and when we talk about this, we're having to make some guesses about what we think that experience would be, because that's not how we're doing these games right now. But I'm going to ask you, Rocki, because you've played plenty of games, you've played plenty of party games. How do you think this would feel live and in person?
I think the team aspect is there, so you'll get more wrong because there'll be disagreements, and someone will say, "Oh, I really think it's this." Well, I know it's not this, and so that might cause more drama. But definitely, as a single player, you're just like, "There's an answer."
Fair
So
enough.
I think the team bit might lend a little bit more to it. But
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like, "Oh my god, just play some more." So.
Fair enough. I think it's one of those in the trivia world, because I've hosted trivia for a lot of years. Small teams often say, that team's 8 people, so they're going to beat me every time. It's unfair. And you're like, no, because those 8 people have to fight with each other. One person knows it, and one more person thinks they know it, and 6 people remember when they were 11 years old, they saw it on TV, and they're all wrong. It doesn't actually help, because it's easier if you're the person that knows it, and you can get the other person that kind of knows it. It's easier to buffalo over 2 people that have a false memory of the wrong answer than it is to get a whole team of people. So I think you could be right. I'm going to take the word drama out of it because it has negative connotations and say maybe conversation. Could we? Suspense?
I don't know.
But it gives us that moment to say, oh, I remember, Rocki, you and I were once out in front of a Domino's, and I distinctly remember that it was red, white, and green. And you're like, no, that can't possibly be right.
Let me tell you about this article I read about oxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood. I didn't even have any vodka.
That was one of the questions we had. It was a 1-color question of what is the color of deoxygenated blood. Everybody always thinks it's blue. It is red. That is one of those that's like a classic trivia player trick question that they have put in the game because it seems like such a simple question. I do think that's one you're right, Rocki. Even with all of us, even with the 5 of us playing and some of us getting it right and some of us getting it wrong, we talked about it for a minute. So I think if you were on the same team where you're fighting about that, especially if you are the person that makes them put up the blue answer and you fought real hard for it, you probably do have a bit of drama, no doubt about that. So, Mike, how did you feel about this one?
It was okay. There's definitely, I think it's more of a light trivia game because you've got these a handful of colors. All of your answers are just going to be some combination from 1 to 5 colors. I think you said that it goes up to 5. We never found a 5-color one. We had a 4.
I thought that was a 5, but you might be right. It may only go up to 4 colors.
No, it might be. I don't know. We didn't do all of the cards in there. That's for sure. But we had a bunch of 1-color and 2-color ones too. And either way, there's only some certain amount of answers you can give. So it's not the most ridiculous trivia game in the world, but at the same time, everyone's racking their brains going, oh, wait a minute. What colors are in the Google logo? I know there's red and I'm pretty sure there's blue and no. So everyone's like up in the air a little bit, and you're and the more you think about it, the more you doubt yourself, and you find yourself like the one that we really got wrong was the 3 types of tuna. I think
yes, there were 3 colored types of tuna that we all swung. I just looked through the deck real quick without looking at the questions because I just want to look at the top part of the answers. That mostly 1s, 2s, and 3s. There are a couple 4s. There is a 5 here and there. So it looks, based on my sample size of about a quarter of the deck, I would say it goes up to about 5 for most questions.
Yeah, and there's 11 colors to choose
11
from,
possible,
unless you're Rocki, in which case there are 3. Yeah, Rocki was pretty bitter when we blue shelled her like 2 times in a row.
3, sir.
Was it 3? Yeah,
it was 3.
Yeah.
You
might not have noticed that 3rd time because you were too busy watching me win.
Nah, I was just too busy losing. There's also that in terms of the difference between playing teams and individuals is that with individuals and with more individuals particularly, there are more blue shells in the game. So if there had been just 2 teams, Rocki could never have been blue shelled more than once. Because one way or another, she'd either be in the lead or be the person doing the blue shell. So there is that. And it was clearly annoying to her just watching the game go by while she was blue shelled. Like even if you know the answer, you just can't give it which is an annoying thing for trivia.
Uh-huh. So I just gave ridiculous jerk answers instead.
Yeah, you had no choice. So there is that
Correct.
annoying part of it. But other than that, I think it's a perfectly serviceable trivia type game. It's not particularly difficult. You could probably play it in families.
Yep.
Because kids know colors and they might not get all of the references. Like they're probably not going to know the 3 varieties of tuna either.
Yeah.
Any more than we did, which none of us adults knew it.
No. We solidly knew 2 colors of tuna, and no one knew the 3rd color of tuna.
Yeah, we all got the first 2 colors correct. And then the 3rd one was different. I think we had a couple of different answers between us, but they were all wrong.
Apparently, since we've talked about it enough and I want to make you look it up, there is a blackfin tuna that none of us knew about.
Yeah.
There's a magical blackfin tuna.
Maybe that's the fancy tuna at the sushi restaurants we don't go to.
That might be. It might be the
Probably.
super fancy tuna that I don't afford.
Maybe we can get a sponsorship by a tuna place.
Once again, not Grillo's Pickles as a sponsor, not Frito-Lay as a sponsor. Warehouse Supply Warehouse. Where a Warehouse Supply Warehouse. We
Bumblebee
have
tuna?
them, but we could also use blackfin tuna.
Bumblebee
Bruce,
tuna.
Do you have a location for them? Because I want to know where the warehouse is.
So I don't know where the warehouse is. Apparently, if you need a warehouse, you'll find the Warehouse Supply Warehouse.
No, the warehouse supply warehouse will find you.
They're clandestine like that.
Sneaky.
So I think the weird thing about the blue shell in this game of taking 8 cards away randomly is, so if it works, the person in the lead is furious you did it. And if it doesn't work, you don't feel like you actually had any power to do anything. If the one color they needed is there, especially if it's an easy question. You're like, oh, so I even used my 1 per game shot to stay in the game, and they still had the thing they needed and won. I understand why it's there. It's to make sure that if somebody gets way ahead and they're about to win, that you can do something to try to pull them back into the game, that you can try to rubber band a little bit. And I'm going to guess, knowing how good Big Potato is at making games, that they probably tested a lot of things, and this is what they ended up landing on. But it is very weird.
Game.
Say it again.
It's a Big Potato game, huh?
It is a Big Potato game. Yeah. The fine folks at Big Potato, who've made quite a few games we've talked about. Obama Llama was the one that immediately comes to mind. Yes. Yeah, it's a weird... I understand why it's there, because you got to try to pull that leader back. That's the problem with trivia, is the rich often get richer. But... yeah, I don't know that this was ever going to feel super great. And I think you could probably take it out of your game, just the rich would get richer, and at 10 points they're done and you call it a day. But I understand how this kind of makes that climb up the ladder and claw for the belt that you see in every wrestling match where a belt's above the ring, where like people almost climb and then they have to accidentally fall themselves down the ladder. So I think it's probably that kind of deal. So then for the closing thoughts on this one, it is... would you play it on Zoom, and would you take it to a party? I think both of those are important since they do play in different ways. Marty, I'm going to start with you. First, would you play it on Zoom?
So I would definitely play it on Zoom. Like I said, I think individuals plays better on Zoom. But I think one thing we didn't discuss is I think that this game I think is great. Rocki was saying, well, it's like it's kind of fun, but there's nothing really. It's different, but it's not special. Okay. I don't think there's going to be a lot of, like, people won't be against it, but no one's going to be clamoring for it. And I think it might be great for families with kids because the questions aren't that hard. Some of them aren't that hard, but I don't know. I don't see a lot of like people wanting to play it over and over again.
So here's the use cases I think could exist for it. One is people that they're nerds and they've had too many drinks. So like they want to do a geek thing, but they really haven't. They've been a little overserved, and they probably shouldn't do anything too difficult.
So like the end of the night after bar trivia,
yes,
you pull this out while you're waiting to sober up to go home.
Exactly. Or you've had like this is that midnight 1 a.m. game. Not even at a convention, because I think even though people are punch drunk from being awake all day, they're still gamers. But there's that thing where you're down towards the end of the night, you've been playing all night, something people have been drinking, it's 2:30 in the morning, and you want to get one more game in, but you also know that half the room can't be taught a rule to a game because they're just not going to listen, and it's going to be like herding cats.
I agree with you. This is that kind of game.
Yeah, this is exactly when it's just enough of a game that even if you're stone cold sober, it feels like a game. It's very much a game. It has all of the trappings of a game. But if you've had a couple, I can just say, look, Bryan, just pick the colors.
Why'd you say Bryan in particular?
Because he's right below me on the screen. That's just the first person I saw.
He's been drinking the tequila Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it's had 6 tequila Mountain Dews.
Oh no!
I had a sip, and the rest of the tequila is going down the drain. I'm sorry to say.
Oh, me too.
Oh, it is. That is one of the worst
You'll
things
join
I've
my
ever drank.
vodka.
But I feel like at that point, that is when this could shine. That, and also, I don't think is a dissimilar situation, is with young children. Because I think like they can actively play. Older kids are gonna sometimes know answers. You're just not gonna know. It's gonna be good to have them on the team. But even if you have a really young kid that doesn't quite get it, you can guide them to the right answer to where they feel like they have agency in what's going on. But also you're still playing a competitive game. If you feel that need in that family situation to do that, I do think this lends to that as well. But those would be my use cases. If I were selling use cases, Marty, those are the ones where I think this game would shine.
So yeah, to go back, and I wouldn't bring it to a party, but because like I said, I would play it on Zoom if someone else wanted to, and I would play it at a party if someone wanted to, but it's not a game I would initiate.
Fair enough. I think that's reasonable. Mike, let's jump to you. So first of all, would you play it on Zoom? Yeah, I know you did play it on Zoom. Would you play it on Zoom again? And would you take it to a party?
I would play it on Zoom. I would be a little hesitant to do it in groups, I think, because you're going to have to get everyone on the same page, some way for them to communicate with the other people in the group, but the other groups won't be able to hear them.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some separate side chat thing going on, either using typing in the Zoom chat or muting yourself on Zoom and joining a Discord channel or something. But one way or another, it's going to make it, it's going to introduce some more hoops to jump through to make that work. So individuals on Zoom, I think, yeah, I would do that again. In person, sure. Yeah, I think that's the use case where you can actually get a group together and make it happen, and it won't hurt yourself doing it. But yeah, I think particularly, I think it's good for the families. Nothing in here is going to be particularly risque, although we had one that was kind of risque, but not really.
And the good news is, since you can see it through the plastic window, if you're the person who's holding the cards and one that seems a little risque, you can just pass it and go to the next one. And I don't think it hurts the integrity of the game at all.
Yeah. But mostly it's going to be like types of tuna or colors in the Google logo or something like that. Yep. It's not really going to offend your children. Like there's nothing about the colors of the Google logo that's particularly age sensitive. They might not know it, but it's not gonna. It's definitely the Party Gamecast cares.
Oh, a Party Gamecast always cares. Dice Tower Network cares, y'all.
Yeah, no, I think it's great for groups in person, individuals over Zoom. You might want to cap the amount of points you can possibly get in a single round if you're playing with a bunch of individuals. But aside from that, knock yourself out.
Yep. Or I think if you were playing with 4 families, where each family was at a Zoom by like themselves, like you had a group of people. Too. I think that would, if your whole team was in the same place and you could just mute it on Zoom, talk, and then present the answers in some way, I think that could probably work as well. So Rocki, let's go to you. Would you play it on Zoom? Would you take it to a party?
I think it's one of those cases where if everyone else really wanted to play it over Zoom, sure, I'd play it again. It just, I don't know, it just didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
I usually give everything a fair shake and give a lot of things the benefit of the doubt. And it's not like I disliked it. It was just a fluffy nothing that I think I might forget about tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Which, yeah, sounds real mean, and I'm sorry. Because
you also spent the last 3 rounds just watching the game go by.
That's also true, but even when I was winning, I was just like, all right, let's happen. So I definitely would not take it to a party, but same scenario. If someone had it there and was like, I really want to try this, I'd be like, okay.
Fair enough. And then I believe, Bryan, I don't think we formally asked you the question. Would you take it? Would you play it on Zoom? Would you take it to a party?
I think I would on both, but I have a different use case, at least for in person. In person, I feel like this would be a nice fill in the gap game. Like you just had a bunch of rounds of something intense, or you've just played 3 hours of Jackbox.
Yep.
And you just want to keep gaming but turn your brain off for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, it's light. You probably only want to play a couple rounds of it. I think it's decent for that sort of thing. Over Zoom, it's not bad. I like the idea of like different families. If you're talking to the cousins or something and there's 3 or 4 of you here and a room full of them there, and you got grandma and grandpa and the other one, whatever, I think that could work. But yeah, individually on Zoom it works. You do get the problem of too many people, because then somebody gets Rockied and doesn't have a fun experience.
Yeah.
Because they just don't get to play for half the game.
Well, also, I think it's probably better to use the blue shells before someone's at 9 out of 10 points, in which case they don't get stuck being the only target.
Yeah. If you're like, hey, you got 7, cool, we're going to start using these, then they would probably fall behind. Someone would leapfrog them, then you hit that person, etc. Yeah, no, I think I would play it. I wouldn't go out of my way, but if I had several games, this might be it wouldn't be like, hey guys, we're all going to play Color Brain, but hey, we've been playing for a little bit, let's switch gears, play this for a couple rounds, and then we'll try something else.
Yeah, something light. Just
Yeah,
turn off
just
your brain.
one of those. We've had some games like that before that they're not everybody's favorite game, but they're fun for a few rounds. So I think that's where this one would fit for me.
I could see that. I think for me, I like it on Zoom. I don't love it on Zoom for the same reason I don't love team trivia on Zoom. I've hosted team trivia on Zoom, and I love playing a game with like 400 individual people. I don't like playing a game with 40 teams of 10. Because I just think that becomes really hard to do. It's easier to do 400 individuals than it is to do 40 teams of 10 in the Zoom environment. Beyond that, I think it's a fun way to present trivia I haven't exactly seen before, and I've seen a lot of different ways to present trivia. I think if you're playing the classic like trivia party game, it definitely fits in that group of games. It fits in a night where you're playing Wits and Wagers and this, and that one that Ken Jennings and Richard Garfield made that I know we've covered, and I just can't remember the name of it right now. I think if you're having that night of, we're going to play trivia games, but they're all going to be a little kind of off-kilter, I think it fits in there perfectly with no problems whatsoever. And I think that may even be one of its better lives, is being one game of 3 or 4. One game of Wits and Wagers, and then one game of this, and then 1 or 2 games of the one that Garfield made, and then one of Skosh, the one that's sort of like Wits and Wagers, but you're pulling a tug of war. I think that's where this would live with normal gamers. Beyond that, obviously, I gave the thought that I think it could be used for with, if you know that you're going to have a whole ton of like very drunk people, but that are nerds and want to do something other than just sit there and talk. I think it could work perfectly well for that. So I would definitely take it to a party. As for Zoom, I think the best life it could possibly live would be 4 groups of people in their own places, like 4 families playing it. So it functionally is exactly the same game, because I think there's nothing about it that can't be done on Zoom. I think it is incredibly Zoom adaptable. You just need to make sure you have the right groups of people in the right places. That's what's more important than the technology of Zoom getting in the way. I don't think the technology of Zoom gets in the way at all in this game, which is great. Especially if everybody has a copy, then you just literally hold the cards up you have. But even if not, you can do exactly what we did, which is just type it all in chat and hit the enter button when it's time and we've all shown our answers. Or make yourself a stack of cards that essentially you hold up to the camera. I think all of those can work. So another fantastically Zoom adaptable game. Just, I think, one that really plays better in very specific situations that look closest to how it would play in real life. So there you go. That was us talking about Color Brain from the fine folks at Big Potato Games. Before we go, I want to thank our Patreons. As we have a Patreon at patreon.com/partygamecast if you want to support what we do here on the show. That's how we do things like buy Flamin Hot Dew and get Color Brain to talk about for you, as well as keep the website up at thepartygamecast.com. We want to thank our sponsors for this episode, Mike Cooper. Thank you so much. Brian Ganninger, thank you so much. Jerry Reese, thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So once again, if you want to reach us, you can call us on the hotline at 30PARTYGAME, 30 PARTYGAME. Leave off that last E for savings. And what does that give you, Mike?
Party games.
Gives you the party games. We have a couple calls from there. I keep threatening to put them in the show, and I will eventually. So if you want to get in, this would be the time to get in before our next episode that we're going to do.
It's time to get in before 10 episodes from now.
Yeah, it's time to get in before 10 episodes from now when we finally do our mailbag episode.
I cannot wait as to how outdated they are, and we have no idea what they're talking about anymore.
It's going to be great. It's going to be
It's only-
awesome. It's going to
So
make
on
for
your last
amazing radio.
episode, you ate some durian.
You're like, oh my goodness, yeah, we did do that years ago.
Yeah.
I've been your moderator, Bruce. Joining the show's been Rocki,
Obama Llama.
Brian,
Bumper.
Mike.
Pull up to the bumper.
Pull up to the bumper, baby.
I knew someone would get it, and I knew it would be you.
Pull up to my bumper, baby. And Marty.
I'm not pulling your bumper.
And thank you so much for listening. Who was it? Was that Grace Slick?
I
Grace
think it was
the lead.
Grace Jones.
Yeah, it was Grace Jones. Grace Slick was the lead singer of Jefferson Starship.
Jefferson
Airplane.
Airplane.
Jefferson Airplane. Sorry, I mix up my Jeffersons.
She's the White Rabbit one.
She was not moving on up.
I was about to do it too. Moving on up, moving on up.
That would be a different person.
Yeah. Did you know what's her name that played Florence on that show did not give up her day job until the second season? Like the
Nice.
actual
What was her day
actress
job?
wue played her, she was a travel
Yeah.
agent.
Huh.
And she wasn't sure it was going to be a stable job. And finally, ABC or CBS or whatever was like, we're going to need you to quit your job. You have a job now.
Yeah.
Marla Gibbs. Apparently, Marla Gibbs I believe she was a travel agent, and they made her give their travel agent job up, and then she became Marla Gibbs. Famous from that
Cool.
and 227.